true.
Bam. Shoo-wee. Sorry about that. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh, the dates are going to be coming at us faster and quicker here. You know that's how it goes. Anyway, no, good to see you guys. We're going to go ahead and say it is March 24th. It's a Tuesday, 2026. Oh, I lost a year there all of a sudden. All right, guys. Well, continuing on with all the things that we're doing here in the world around us, we find ourselves in a news cycle that just seems to be over and over and over again. Looks like Trump has made the decision that he's not going to back down on the SAVE Act, so we're going to continue to see that going forward, and we're going to go from there. Oh, Bundy Cobb, man, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. All right, real quick here, I've got to send an email to somebody because she's using the wrong. She needs to use the new link. Okay. All right. Bundy Cobb, thank you so much for your great gift there, sir. I do appreciate that. Anyway, going on, let's get back to the things. I was trying to see if I got a guest coming on today, and they are not in the Zoom room yet, so I got to continue on without. This is one of those things where a lot of things are starting to come together that we were complaining about like 6 years ago, back when Trump was still in office, during the election and after the election. And these are the things that are kind of the headache we've been paying for here. Senator Judicial Chairman Chuck Grassley on Tuesday released Jack Smith's subpoenas of FBI Kash Patel's phone records. Now, why this is important and why this is coming out now, and it is a thing, is that we realize that there is a lot more to this whole thing than we really want to talk about, especially because it means that we are absolutely living in a time where we know the government is weaponizing, and at any given time, you can become a victim to that. And that even means people like Kash Patel. Now, granted, we know that Kash Patel hasn't quite gotten his act together the way we would hope as the FBI director, and we also know that Dan Bongino himself is also a disappointment in monumental levels. It is amazing to see how he has really... Now, guys, I don't know if you've watched Dan Bongino before or after, but this guy is crashing out. I mean, and I know the word crashing out, they use that word as a reference to people that are kind of, like losing their mind over stuff, or, oh, I can't believe it, oh, my life's coming apart, or, oh, did you see that ghost? So anyway, that is kind of where this is all going. I think Dan Bongino saw what was really going on, saw behind the curtain, and it freaked him out, and he was not able to mentally handle it, and I do believe that is the case so far with him. Now, I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that, this and that, but Kash Patel doesn't need anybody looking at his phone records, anybody looking at his calls, any of that stuff. But here we go. Jack Smith subpoenaed Verizon for roughly 2 years' worth of Kash Patel's private records, including his texts and call logs, residential address, and credit card numbers. The records indicate a wish list created by Smith's team, naming 14 members of Congress whom they wanted to seek tolling data, says Grassley. Some of those members are senators on this very committee, he says. The sad part of this is, guys, this is where, you and I would think that there is like this whole like, hey, listen, Jack, are you sure you need this? You need this subpoena, man. You gotta convince me, bro. I just can't be going out here and giving you subpoenas. And the sad part of it is that there is none of that going on. There is no checks and balances. There is nobody going out there and saying, why do you really need this? Do you really need it? This might be a constitutional problem. This might be a thing that bites us in the ass later. No, they don't give a shit. They don't care. I appreciate your guys' moral barometer that puts it inside of you that says, hey, this is how this is how life works, and we shouldn't have to think this, right? But the problem is our moral barometer does not work. Um, the way that our moral barometer does not work the way that theirs does, and that's where it gets real messy. Um, and this is where I just wish that we could have that conversation about what is really going on when they sit around going, oh, well, they shouldn't have done that. That's a bad deal. Oops. The collecting of the records and those kind of things are not from. They're not really about whether they caught him calling the consulate in Germania or Kyrgyzstan or Gigi-Bigi-Doo. None of that. It's about what they can do to humiliate, what they can do to actually, get people to bend on certain things. And that's why they did it. It's about humiliation. It's about control, them knowing that they can go in and mess with you any way they want, anytime they want. Going into your computers. See, here's another thing, guys. By the way, and I know a lot of you guys are not on the, watch list for whatever agencies. I get that. And congratulations. That's awesome that you're not a part of that. But just as much as I have my tablet sitting here on Wi-Fi and I have my laptop here connected, hardwired into the internet, I know that the government has absolute access to this computer and can put anything onto it or take anything off of it, including this little computer right here in my hand, which I know that they have actually taken photographs off of my photo reel. Oh, that's absolutely a real thing that they do that. They will go into your phone, and there are pictures that will be taken off of your phone. How do you think they find out about people taking pictures where they shouldn't? It's because they're always monitoring. It's always a thing. Oh, here we go. Here she is, and we'll get her caught up in here. So anyway, the idea that this is, so it goes on. This is outrageous and deeply alarming that the previous FBI leadership secretly subpoenaed my own phone records, along with those of now White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Now, think about what that means. Is if they were actually going into Susie Wiles, which is the personal assistant to Trump. Again, if they're in there doing that, see what they're doing? They're trying to find humiliation. They're trying to find ways of being able to leverage people. And the sad part of it is, if our government has that ability to do that way, in one simple way, they have it to do it in a million other ways. And that's the sad part of what we're up against. And thanks. So anyway, that was the rundown. There's a lot more of the news of the day going on, and I know that we will talk about more of that later. But I do have my special guest here with me. She has shown up, and there she is. Good to see you, Karla. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, you bet. And I'm just getting myself over here sitting next to you, so we both look like we're in the same scene here. So
Sorry, I had actually had the wrong link, so I think the one that you sent today I just got. So
yeah, no
sorry about
worries.
that.
No. It happens. We have the reschedule thing. It happens. No big deal on there. I'm not worried about it at all. So anyway, Karla, thank you so much for being on the show. Karla, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll chop it up from there.
My name is Karla Carlock, and I am Rain's mom. I lost my 19-year-old daughter to fentanyl poisoning in 2023.
Okay. Now, you're talking about fentanyl. I was in the ICU the first 6 days of this year, and they had administered fentanyl to me, which I didn't know I needed it, but they were administering it to me for, I'm not sure if it was pain relief or whatever. I had 7 fractures. I apologize for not filling that story in for you. But they were giving me fentanyl, which I kind of looked at them and, the whole idea. But I guess I have to ask the question for you. When did you learn about fentanyl? And then can you tell us the story that led up to the tragedy in your life?
Yes, I am a nurse, and so I knew about the legal fentanyl, but there is illicit fentanyl out right now that's killing so many people, especially our youth. But we were a military family. We moved around all the time. My husband was an officer in the Army, so we actually moved around a little bit more often than some, I guess, just if you're an officer, you move every 2 to 3 years as opposed to every 4 to 6. So
Right.
it was something the kids really enjoyed. But the older my 19, well, she was 19 when she passed away, but the older Rain got, the more difficult it got for her to adjust. And so I started her in counseling when she was in high school, and she was on medication for depression and anxiety, and she was doing pretty good. She was doing sports and even got a dog, but she still was struggling. Um, I, I thought she was doing a lot better, but she was a college freshman when I found out that she was still struggling. And she called me one night on a Friday night and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm not doing good. I really want to get back into counseling and back on medication." And I told her, "Okay, I'll call on Monday." And I said, "Rain, you know, God loves you and has big plans for your life, and you're going to be an amazing teacher one day." And and she was like, "Well, I love you, Mom. Thank you. And I have an assignment due by midnight, and I'll talk to you tomorrow." And so then the next day, I get a call like at 9 a.m. and they said, Rain was found dead in bed with her schoolwork still open on her computer and her dog beside her in bed. And I I just lost it. I didn't understand what had happened. I didn't know if it was like a health issue because at the time it just didn't make sense. I just talked to her. And so it took about 3 months. We get her autopsy back, and it says she passed away from a Xanax laced with fentanyl. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's just awful. And so I we start going through her things, and that night we found out that she Googled what does a generic Xanax look like, and I guess she probably thought, hey, it looks like the real thing. It's safe, and that one decision to take something cost her life. And I started realizing like, hey, there's so many families that are in my shoes that have lost their child. Just so many, even really young children, just one pill, they go to sleep and don't ever wake up. And so I'm like, something has to be done. And so I started meeting other families in our state that have lost a child that have really been trying to push to get legislation. And so I kind of gotten involved with that. I met with lawmakers, and we've been pushing and fighting, and we got Rain's Law passed, and it's going to require fentanyl education in grades 6 through 12. And so the governor signed it into law officially on February 26th of 26. And so it was kind of almost like, you know, I was very thankful, but then it was very painful. But I also had the thought that, hey, maybe I didn't lie to her, that she's still teaching just in a different way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because she was in school to be a teacher. She was majoring in early childhood education.
Right. Well, that's I can't even imagine. I've had things happen in my life, but never have lost a child on that. For you in this process, when you were going through all these things, what was it like for you? You said that you started this process, but you now have a law that's named after her. What was the very first step for you in making all this happen?
Well, like I said, I felt like I had to do something because I did feel like I lied to her. And I realized that, hey, there are so many kids that are losing their life and there's no education. Like even in Red Ribbon Week, they're not talking about fentanyl, and it's the leading cause of death in young people. So it's like something has to change.
Right.
And when I met another dad, he lost his son to fentanyl poisoning a week before he received his master's degree, and he kind of felt like giving up because he said it wasn't really going anywhere.
Right.
And at that point, I helped him, and I kind of started working with him. And at that point, he kind of got a little bit more motivated, and we were just working together, just trying to meet with different representatives, senators, and I just started fighting, and I found people that wanted to make a difference too. And the senators were all on board, so it passed unanimously. And I even went to the White House when they did the Halt Fentanyl Signing Act. I was there. And so it's been hard. Feels like it's been a long fight, but
Right.
I'm just so grateful it passed because, like I said, I've gone to speak at schools a few times, and a lot of times kids don't know what fentanyl is. They don't understand, and people think, oh, it's, people should know by now, but so many don't. And kids don't go talk to their parents. That's another thing. It's like with mental health, it's a huge issue with kids. They don't feel comfortable reaching out to their parents. They
Right.
don't always, want to tell anybody how they feel. And so I think if kids realize, like, hey, you know, me risking taking something that wasn't prescribed to me or something I find, like even if it's a vape or, weed, that
Right.
it could cost them their life and they'll never wake up.
So let me ask you a quick question. I mean, we talk about fentanyl. We use this word as it's always kind of, oh, fentanyl, fentanyl. What is fentanyl? What is actually is it like methamphetamine? Is it what's it really doing to the body? What is it really made of? I guess I've never had anybody explain that to me.
Well, so like you said, there's a difference with what you had and then what that was being made on the street. It's illicit fentanyl, and it's really kind of things they mix in together. It's a synthetic opioid, but when it's made illegally, they're mixing it into just about everything, like coke, weed. And the detective told me they're seizing medical grade pill presses, so it's being mixed into, stuff like I said that might be what they think is an anxiety pill, and it's not, or a pain pill, but it's really just being mixed. It's a synthetic opioid, but since it's being made illegally, then we really don't know what's in it.
Right. So it is, and so is it a painkiller or what is it really doing to the body? What's it doing there?
It depresses the nervous system. It also, like you said, it can, yep,
Oops, we lost you there a little bit. Your audio cut out.
put you to sleep too. Like at the dentist when I went not that long ago, they gave me fentanyl in my IV, and it could put me to sleep. I didn't feel any pain, and it was a conscious sedate. Like I wasn't completely under, but I didn't remember anything. I didn't feel anything, and so with fentanyl that people are getting off the street, and a lot of times, like I said, they don't know that's what it is, but the chances of them dying are so high, or if they do survive that, they're probably going to be addicted the way it's created.
Right. So this is an ongoing problem. Now, let me ask you on your research or your process and all this. There's always the conversation. Well, it's China. Well, it's Venezuela. It's Mexico. It's the cartel. Is there fentanyl being made and produced in America that has nothing to do with other countries?
I do think it is, but I think they're getting these supplies from other countries. I think it came in that way.
All right.
Yeah. But I mean, I think, like I said, that the ingredients to make it are coming from other countries. And unfortunately, there are people here making it too. But
Now,
they wouldn't have been able to get it had the borders not been opened
right.
and it had been able to get here so easily.
True. Now, for you, when this law goes through, went through, what is it actually doing for the individual and for parents? What's it really doing there for them?
Well, the good thing about it is it doesn't just focus on fentanyl poisoning, it also focuses on suicide awareness,
Mhm.
mental health prevent, just different things like that, because a lot of that all is tied in. And you keep hearing of children dying from suicide and, people dying from fentanyl. And the bill is going to teach them the signs of it. They're going to teach them, just like kind of what to look for if you see, in just letting them know that, hey, you can't take something that's from someone. Just letting them know also that vapes and weed and just any other kind of drug or any pill that you didn't get from a pharmacy, just letting them know that how it's just such a small amount can kill you, because a lot of times they'll call it an overdose, but it's
Mhm.
really a poisoning, because like you think about it, these kids that have taken one pill or half a pill didn't think they were overdosing.
Right.
And I think they need to realize like how dangerous it is. And like I said, they need to know that there's resources. And in this bill that's going to talk about that, like just letting the kids know that, hey, when you are struggling with mental health, go to a teacher, like just having those resources there so you don't have as many deaths. And like I said, even if just one kid survive, gets to
Right.
live because of this law, then it was worth it. Because at first I didn't even want to share her story. you'll see people online that say, well, your kid shouldn't be doing drugs, but you know, she didn't know. And kids make mistakes. People used to grow up and experiment, and kids today don't have that luxury because it's going to cost them their life. They won't get to learn from their mistakes and live to tell about it. They don't have that opportunity anymore.
Right. Well, on this, now, how much, when we talk about fentanyl and those kind of things, what is it? Now, there's all these reports, and different people want to say things sensationally, but how much of this is how much? If I'm talking about like a grain of rice, am I talking about a Jolly Rancher? Am I talking about a foot long hot dog? I mean, how much of this fentanyl is really what is being ingested, and how much does it take to actually cause that death, or is it variable for everybody?
Um, well, it just a few grains of salt can kill somebody, and it is different from different people. You'll hear of people that have been actually searching out fentanyl and have been addicted to it, and they get clean.
Hmm.
And when they get out of rehab, they relapse and they go and take something that they took before and they pass away because they don't have that tolerance anymore. So it is different for different people, but it just takes a few grains, like I
Hmm.
said, of the size of salt to cost take your life.
Right. Well, now, let me ask you a question. When did this become an issue in our society? Because I know I'm 54, so we had crack and we had cocaine and we had all this other stuff, and then here comes the '90s, and all of a sudden it's meth. Has fentanyl been around this whole time, and it's just now cycling through as a popularity thing, or is this something new they came up with, like Loratabs?
I think I noticed it where it started causing deaths probably like 2014, 15, maybe even 13. It was around, but it wasn't, it was just like a few deaths that were known about it. Maybe they weren't even testing for it.
Right.
But then I noticed there was like a huge surge in 2018 and up. And then whenever my daughter passed away in 2023, it was like there was 300 kids or people, mainly young people, dying a day. So it's almost like a plane crash a day.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, why wasn't there like a COVID like response to this? Because if you think about it, if there's 300 people dying a day and that's a plane crash a day,
Yeah.
then they would land all the planes. They
Right.
would try to figure out what's going on. It's like, yes, it's going to take so much to stop it. It's education. It's law enforcement. There's a lot that has to be done, but it needs to be done because it's wiping out a whole generation.
Right. Well, now, I'm very naive to this, other than the fact that it was given to me in January 1 through 6. I was in the ICU this year. Other than I was given that, I'm just trying to trying to answer some questions for the basic person out there that's really thinking about how they're affected by this and where all this is coming from. And this is why I'm asking this, because cocaine was a big thing in the '80s, right? Everybody cocaine, the whole thing, and then here comes meth, and I just wonder. It's like, and so if we were to ban this, is there a negative effect? Like I say, ban. But if we were to say, hey, nobody, doctors, anesthesiologists, super cool people, whatever, nobody gets it, does that actually change the ability for it to be purchased, or is that too much, or is that not enough? I don't know.
Well, so they're not banning the fentanyl that doctors are using, that hospitals are using. It's the ones that's like I said, being made illicitly. That's out of someone's house. We don't know how they're making these. They're mixing it into coke, and they can't. These aren't pharmacists that are creating this, and they're not actually able to decide like, oh, how much I'm putting in this, or and because I asked the detective, I was like, why are they these drug dealers mixing it in their drugs if it's killing people? And he said, well, think about it. We might have 15 people that come to them, and you got what, say half of them die, but then the other half you got a returning customer for life because hey, it's they think it's good stuff. And when they're mixing the fentanyl into the drugs, the fake prescription pills, it makes them feel good. So, and it makes it stronger and it's cheaper. It's cheap to produce. And so, they're not going, I don't foresee them taking it out of hospitals.
Right.
I mean, I guess there's a chance, but even if you did, there's going to still be people that are going to make it on their, create it out of their house or,
Right.
you know, yeah.
Well, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out how it's like, how do we become a better, I don't know what you say it, like a better, better observer, and try to move away from some of these things that allows these things to happen. But is it just awareness with your children, or is it, I mean, how do, I mean, I don't, like I said, I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know of anybody who's seeking it out. So I'm just trying to figure out, how do we, as regular Americans, how do we help with this fight? How do we push back on this?
So, I unfortunately there are people that seek it out, and it's because they've gotten addicted to it. I did a documentary with Texas Pictures, and they've done so many documentaries on different people's lives. So when I first lost my daughter, I watched every single one of them, just trying to see like how did they lose their child, how they lose their loved one, their spouse, their mother, their father. I wanted to understand, just like most people who get affected by it. And there was this one doctor on there. She was in a car wreck and was given pain pills. Event She got addicted to the pain pills. The doctors cut her off, and so she went online and started buying them. Ended up losing her life to a fentanyl laced pill. And a lot of times that happens. If you think about it, even if you want to go see a doctor, a counselor,
Hmm.
it's usually a long wait to see a specialist. And people get desperate. And so that's why it's important that you talk to someone and explain to them and educate them that even when it's hard, don't risk it, because you just don't know. If you don't get it from your own doctor,
Right.
then there's a chance that you'll lose your life.
Well, that's very true for me. When so I got out of the hospital, they gave me I don't know, 1,000 pills of gabapentin, which makes me very angry. I have it. The side effect makes me like very aggressive. It's really weird, gabapentin. I was like, I don't know what this is doing for me, but I feel like killing you. Like, I'm being facetious in that part, but I was just like, everything out of my mouth and wanted to be like, listen, I was just like, bruh. But when they sent me home with like a week's worth of stuff, and I'm sitting here with 7 fractured ribs and a hole in my lung, and I'm trying to manage pain. Well, I started skipping pain pills because when I went to the doctor, they're like, "Oh, we'll just give you like," they gave me like I think I had at a total was about 10 days of pain meds after I left the hospital. And so I could see where I started like, going like, man, I'm in so much pain. I can't hardly breathe here. And then these people were telling me I can't get them. So me being a level-headed person, I was able to, I tried doing other things, but I didn't go trying to look for, Loratabs and Percocets on the open market or on the black market. And I guess that's where that situation comes in. If I go out and I'm like, hey man, I'm needing this, are you saying that they're going to go ahead and I could find laced pills in that situation, or people
Yeah,
trying to?
you could just, a lot of the kids go online on Snapchat and know how to find it.
Really?
Yeah, and so
I thought
I,
Snapchat was, so Snapchat's now is for drugs, not for whatever it was
well,
before.
no, you can use it for anything. It's just like any social media site, but kids are going on there and able to get pills. There's just like different emojis for code words for things that they're trying to get. But
Right.
yeah,
Mm.
I wouldn't know where to go myself as an adult.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to look, but I know that people I've talked to, and from my own daughter, the detectives went through her phone and she was talking to someone and they were communicating through Snapchat. And she said, "Are you sure it's a Xanax?" And the person said yes. And they also said, "Hey, I'm putting my kid to bed. I will
Wow.
message you." So it says something about um, I had leftover Xanax or something along those lines. And the thing that's so sad about it is she was she even questioned it. That's why she Googled, what does it look like? But
Right.
even if it looks like it, it's just not safe, and
Yeah.
it's destroyed my whole life. Like, I've never used drugs in my life, and fentanyl's destroyed my life.
Absolutely. I understand that. Well, is there any way that I mean, is there a, like, can we do something? Do you have a website for your daughter or anything like that where you can follow along, or anything else you're doing with this, or activist things you're doing?
Well, since Rainsville just passed, I'm really just kind of starting. This is one thing I'm starting working on a children's book
Hmm.
because her and I were gonna write an illustrated children's book before she passed away, and I kind of have given up on that now that her law passed, and it's only focusing on grades 6 through 12. I'm gonna do a children's book for elementary age, and I'm gonna have one of her drawings that she made me when she was little as the cover photo. And I want little kids just to know, because there's ways you can talk to them about it. It just has to be, kind of tailored to them. And just also talking about grief, because my kids, I have a 7-year old, a 13-year old, and a 17-year old, and I've seen how they all grieve differently, and just how this has kind of affected their life. It's just kind of, I just want to help kids. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of just starting on all of this.
Yeah.
I'm looking into a nonprofit right now, creating that. So it's all kind of new now that her law passed. But yeah, like I said, it's
Right.
just been a few weeks.
Right.
And it goes into effect of the next school year, August of 2026.
Very good. Well, that's great. So for you to be able to do all these things, I mean, I know that you talk about you weren't planning on being an activist or doing these things, but look what you were able to do, and it's a testament to your own will, and even hey, something negative drove you towards a positive, right? So we can find the positive in this, right? So we were able to see those things. So I appreciate that you were able to take this and not just wallow in it and ruin your own lives as well as others, but actually try to amplify and show the benefit of, hey, her passing is going to show others that they don't have to be a part of this. And so thank you for doing your work on that. Anything else you want to add before we get you out of here?
No, just thank you for having me, and thank you for listening to her story and
Yeah.
just sharing, what's going on right now with so many young people. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad I was able to have you on. And as you start on with your book writing and things like that, or if you have other things coming up, get a hold of us and we'll have you back on again. And I would love to have you on. And if you have your book out there, let's get it on the show here and we'll talk about it so we can actually let other people know about it as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it was good seeing you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Karla, it was good listening to the story. I found a few things out about fentanyl I really didn't understand before, I guess, because, I guess my fear is going online and start going, what is fentanyl? And then all of a sudden now the feds are at my door wanting to know why I'm looking at,
Yeah.
fentanyl. So it's like it's this double-edged sword. If you want to know what this is and why it is they're doing it and what it looks like, but then it's like, okay, what did that just turn me into?
Yeah.
So now
Right.
I've got this, the knock on the door. Jim, what are you looking at fentanyl? Oh, I ain't looking at. I was just wanting to know what it is. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, thank you so much, Karla, for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much. All
All right.
right. Bye
We'll see
bye.
you. Bye bye. All right. What a great interview that was with Karla, and I appreciate her being able to talk about those things because again, these problems that we have in society. These are personal problems. A lot of times we talk about how we want Epstein this and we want this and that and all these other things. And those are all great, and I love all that. But the sad part of it is that the daily lives of people are truly affected by some of the things that are going on around us that we hear in the world news, but it's actually happening locally to individual people, and that's why it's important. Too many times we forget about the humanity of the story, and that's where we all lose that, right? And one of the things I talked about in the hospital, it's like we've lost humanity. We don't know how to be a human being to a human being anymore. We don't know how to care for each other. And that's, I guess, let me do a little bit on that for a second. I will tell you, hands down, right now, I'm just like, guys, we have to find each other. We have to find the humanity, the human in each other, and quit picking on each other and doing things that are just so ridiculous. I don't understand why we put up with. Why do we want to treat each other this way? And let me give you something. I'm gonna give you an out here. Thank you for standing as a voice for children's awareness against those poisons. Oh, Josephine, absolutely. And this is kids. Man, I love kids. I really do. I think they're the best. But let me give you a little bit of psychology behind what we're up against and why this conversation is something I stumble around on and you stumble around as well. Is the sad part of it is that when you have lower IQ, you tend not to be able to communicate and be able to be decent to each other. And I listen, that's okay. Don't get all, hell no, you can't say stupid people or bad people. It's like, that's not. The tendencies are when you have lower IQ people, they tend to use physical harm to communicate, whether good or bad. And that's not me making that up. But what I am finding out is that a lot of people live in this lower IQ cycle, this cyclical thing where they can't get out of it, and they get caught up in this, and their life is just torn apart by it. And I think if we all talk about, that's like the things I talk about here on the show quite often, and things I talk about even yesterday, is that we all got to be better. We got to be better for each other. We got to be better human beings. Stop doing things that hurt each other. And that's where it just really throws me out. Throws me out of kilter that I see that if we just were nicer to each other, just treated each other better, did better for each other, this world just opens up, and then we don't have to worry about looking over our shoulder, being paranoid about someone being shitty to us. Do you see what I'm talking about? I mean, I think we just forget that we have so many people that are just used to being shitty to us all the time. We're just used to that as being normal. But if we don't treat each other that way, if we start treating each other better, then we don't have to look over our shoulders, do we? We don't have to look around to see if we got somebody coming to attack us, because the people we have around us have our best interests at heart. They're not worried about their ego. They're not worried about making sure they get theirs. They're not doing that, right? Excuse me. So when we think about this, think about what we went through with this conversation with Karla and what she was talking about and all the things that she had to do with. But think about the stress that her daughter was going through. And then the fact that if we were actually all doing better for each other, would that have happened? Would she have even had to even look in that way? Would it even been a thing? And that's where I think it gets, that's the tough part, right? Josephine says, I lost a child, not to fentanyl, but I know the raw pain. Oh, I can only imagine, Josephine. I cannot imagine. Unbelievable. Unfortunately, there will always be people that take advantage of others. I agree with what you were saying, Jim. Thank you for that, Brenda. Yeah, I look around and I see people trying to make things a problem, trying to make things like there's already people who are just a problem, right? And they're always just a kind of a pain in the ass already. But then you have other people who are out of their way going and saying that they want to do and that's the part that just throws me for a loop. I don't know. I just. We got it. We can do better for each other. We really can. And I think that is the sad part of this, is that we have not been able to do that. And it's tearing us apart. We got to get better for each other. You know, if you can get the one or two people around you to start thinking in that way of thinking like, yeah, we got to get away. We got to get away from this pattern. We got to get to treating each other better. If we can just start doing that in our own little circles, it can be contagious. It can work. So, let's see here. Jim Hoff, Gateway pundit, esteemed doctors, wins Missouri versus Biden case brought before the U.S. Supreme Court. Government settles, agrees to end Biden's censorship tyranny. After years of litigation in which the Gateway pundit, founder, and publisher Jim Hoff, who we've had here on the show, was the lead plaintiff in Missouri versus Biden. The case that experts said was the most important free speech case in recent history has settled between the government and Hoff and other plaintiffs. Imagine that, huh? Yeah. The government admitted that it unrelentlessly pressured certain government officials, likely intended results to suppressing millions of protected speech posts by Americans. Now, where is that? Where am I? Oh, you mean like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that shit when they used to do all those things? Yeah, cool. The important concession and agreement secured through years of expensive and time-sensitive litigation by by Gateway Pundit is a hard-won argument. The government cannot take actions, formal or informal, directly or indirectly, to threaten social media companies with some form of punishment unless they remove, delete, suppress, or reduce content containing protected free speech. So in other words, when we saw all that stuff happening with Trump's page being taken down, I lost some 80,000 followers on Twitter. I lost 10 million on Facebook. I lost another 80-some thousand on YouTube. Guys, this is what I'm talking about, is that happened to me, and then this right here is basically vindication that the government can't do this. And even though maybe Facebook is really the piece of shit that they think they are, maybe Twitter really is the piece of shit that we think they are, maybe they are. But the government was dogpiling on top of it, and we don't need business with that, right? We don't need to pay for our own abuse, right? It's kind of crazy if you think about it. Now, in the court filings, it is not only confirmed, but this critical victory for speech has been won. Some of the terms of this consent decree are confidential, such as the amount of money the government is required to pay Jim Hoft in fees and damages, but the essential text says that the Biden censorship complex has been stopped in its tracks. Here's the problem. Here is the absolute problem with this. I don't have the money. I don't have the lawyer friends. I don't have the time. I don't have any of that to be able to go fight for my freedoms and liberties. Why can't my government just do that already? Did you hear what I just said? Why can't my government just do that already? Why do I got to scrape together millions of billions and trillions of dollars to go fight a government that is fighting me with my own tax money to then get them to do the right thing? This is where we have failed as our republic, guys. Is that when our republic does not seek the benefit, does not seek the admiration, does not seek the approval of the people, the republic has failed. Out and out failed. In another instance, the FBI demanded the deletion of pro-Second Amendment posts, likely liked by nearly 100,000 users on Facebook. The government tried to create a real-time monitoring and flagging of content it disliked, which, at its height, was flagging 2.5% of all tweets. Now, that doesn't seem like a big number, but here's the problem. Any number above zero, government, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you guys are, anything above zero is censorship. Period. Not allowed. Oh, part of what strengthened the case was the Office of Attorney General in both Missouri and Louisiana, which sued alongside Jim Hoft to protest the federal government's violation of its citizens' free speech rights. When asked in Congress, the Biden Department of Justice literally pleaded ignorance about the ongoing Supreme Court case. Again, these people are beholden to us. We live in a constitutional republic. They should be worried that we're offended by these words. They should be running us down and saying they're sorry and making sure that we are made whole. Except for they would rather run us off the road, put a bull in our head, and say, oops, hope your family doesn't sue us because we're going to have to pay you out of your tax dollars. It's not coming out of their money. They don't go to jail for it. The guy who shot the guy with 2 magazines full of ammo for a cell phone in his hand, that guy got a promotion. That cop didn't get fired. He didn't go to jail. He didn't pay a fine. He got a promotion. So we can all act like we don't understand what's going on, but we should. Missouri versus Biden case is an Orwellian that it emerged during discovery that the government considered the thoughts of its citizens as critical infrastructure, so that the government can then justify doing almost anything to combat misinformation and disinformation. So wait, so they changed the words. Oh my God damn it. This is why I don't like authentic. This is why I don't like people who are not authentic. This is why I don't like people who are narcissists and self-centered and little pieces of shit. This is why they went out. Now listen, this is what they did. This is how the government laid their little pillow, their head on their pillow, and did the little yeah. They slept really well at night, knowing that we used lawyerese. We used a lawyer way to move words around. Do you want to hear how we do that? Well, here we go. It says, the government considers the thoughts of its citizens as critical infrastructure, not free speech. See, your thoughts, your typed words, your social media posts are infrastructure. They're not free speech protected by an amendment of some type. You're stupid. Why would you think? I don't understand why you people are so dumb. The government knows what it's doing. Your thoughts are infrastructure, and their job is to protect the infrastructure and maintain it at all costs. Wow. Josephine, she says, have a good evening. All right, Josephine, you too. Appreciate you being here. Brenda says, I agree. In 2024, Facebook owner. By the way, this comes at about a time when the social media platforms are in LA County getting sued right now for this very thing. 2024, Facebook owner Mark Zuckerberg admitted that the Biden censorship complex existed, that it was wrong, and he had profound regrets about participating in the government. Shut up, Mark. It's the government is in bed with you. They gave you Facebook. You didn't invent it, and neither did the whatever twins, the Wonder Twins who sued you for money. A variety of groups on the right filed AMICI briefs, amicus briefs in the case supporting Jim Hoft and the Gateway Pundit, including JFK Jr. prior to becoming Secretary of Health and Human Services. Every left-wing free speech group set the case out. Why is that? Oh, because they didn't get affected by it. I see what you said. The case went to the Supreme Court twice, which involved important wins and losses at the trial court and appellate levels. The original case was filed in the Western District of Louisiana and was heard before Judge Daughtry. The first filing to the Supreme Court involved questions as to whether a trial court judge could prevent the federal government from continuing to censor free speech while the case was pending. The 6-3 decision allowed the government to continue suppressing free speech while the case continued. Hey, listen to the words I just said here. Hello? A 6-3 decision with Amy Coney Barrett said that the government can continue to suppress free speech while the case continued on. That's your Supreme Court? Said the government can continue to suppress free speech while a free speech case that says they were suppressing it was going. Gee, many Christmas people. Come on. So Missouri and Louisiana continue to fight the censorship court until the Department of Justice, on behalf of the government, voluntarily entered into a consent decree. Now, by the way, notice that two different states, Louisiana and Missouri, both had to get involved because they have the limitless money and the resources and all the crafty ways to do it, where the Jim Hoft would have never had that money and that ability to go after them. And that's the problem with it. That is the problem. Hey, Jeremy Phillips, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. All right, guys, so that's going to be about it for me. Great interview today with Karla. It's good to see her. Thank you so much for her show, or her efforts on the show, and good to see that she was able to work her way through that and her daughter's tragedy. Oh, got a cough here. All right, remember the 10% we do for our neighbor, community, city, county, state, the federal government. The more you do for them, the less it do for you. Learn how to be selfless and not so damn selfish. There will be a far, far better place. Remember, hold the line, hold fast, do not give up, do not give in. We'll win. I promise I can't keep. Guys, you've always been the answer out there. Remember that Constitution? Well, it limits the government, but never limits you. You've always been the answer. All right, guys, that's about it for me. Get out there and be somebody. It's good days. Got a good weekend. By the way, Thursday I will be traveling to Dallas for the CPAC convention. I'm not going there for CPAC. I'm not going there for any of the other reasons other than I'm going there to observe. I am media. I am going there to see what I can see and see how much influence of other countries are having on CPAC and see what the real tenor of the people in the crowd really is. That's what my job is. So I will be gone Thursday and Friday this week. I'll be back on Monday for sure. But I will be driving down to Dallas on Thursday morning to be a part of CPAC because it is my job to report the goings-on. And so I take that very serious, and I'll be there. All right, guys. Anyway, it's been good seeing everybody out there. Good stuff and great conversations as well, always. Thank you so much. Bless you all, says Brenda. Thank you so much for that, Brenda. I appreciate that. All right, guys. I'm Jim Price, the Jim Price Show Daily Update. You guys all be good to each other out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.